Alright, greetings everyone and welcome to another video. Today, I'm giving fair warning at the get-go before we get into it. And the warning is that today is a spoiler video. So if you are on the global side, I think you are one story update behind JP. Well, today we're talking about the most recent JP story and what it might mean for the future. So some people, now's the time to opt out, to get out of this video because you've been fairly warned. And if you skip this message, it's your own damn fault. All right. So talking about spoilers, the most recent chapter has appeared on JP 11, part 2 of book 3. And interestingly, there was an interview on Game 8 done with the producer and director of Wotv. So basically, Hirano and Fujita-san, who both, are pretty important when it comes to the direction of the game. They talked about strengthening limit bursts and how much they prefer doing master quests, master abilities, because master abilities give a little bit more flexibility than doing limit bursts. So that kind of tells you something. Also talked about just commander abilities and what that will bring to the game. But we're not here to necessarily talk about that. We're here to talk about the story, and specifically the story campaign. Now, the story has been heating up. What's interesting here, I'm going to read a little bit of an excerpt from this. It's roughly translated. So we've heard a lot about what happened in the 5th anniversary, like as the future plans for War of the Visions. The story is reaching a climax, and I'm sure a lot of anticipation for future developments. Is there any part you would like viewers to pay particular attention to? I guess the question is, how will newly revived Jaden perform? Jaden has become a commander function. The relationship between him and Alaya and his relationship with Oberyn are areas that we put a lot of effort into creating, so I hope that people pay attention to that. However, Mont remains the central protagonist, and the actions of Mont and his younger brother Stern will continue to be the main focus. It feels like they are taking a different route for the same purpose. Mont is facing head-on, Stern is going after things he needs to defeat the Realm Scourge. How Jaden is involved in this, it's engulfing the entire continent. Even Sadali, who I thought was definitively the final boss in the beginning, has kind of changed sides. So we're hoping that we will exceed everyone's expectations and not disappoint their hopes. Of course, this is a very difficult thing to do. And Hirano goes on to continue to say, it's nearing the climax, but there's still a lot more story to come. Ha 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 ha. The story will unfold more from now on. As for a few other things, here's an interesting point that I'll just add in here. The release of Mont and Oberyn, who stand alongside Jaden, as well as characters in other costumes, and he says, I can't say who will appear, but please look forward to it. I'm biased, but I believe future story developments will not disappoint. So, I mean, there is more to that interview, and it's probably something I do need to talk about more, but that was pretty relevant to what was going on here, which is what's happening in the story quest. And that's what I wanted to focus on today, because the story quest seems to be hinting at something big. Recently, I talked about the fact that I expect there to be a pretty major esper coming in the future. I'm not even sure. I don't think that this is perhaps the right story element. Maybe it's the other one that I was looking for. My bad. To be continued as per usual. Of course, part 3, of any chapter is usually the thing where things majorly happen, and I'm kind of hoping that the part 3 won't be too much further, because this was kind of interesting. What happens in this chapter, basically they're going after Realm Scourge, they're trying to defeat him and whatnot. Gilgamesh is doing his best to kind of hold it off on his own, but him and Mont just not doing particularly that well, not making it as much progress as they want, because of course still looking for that damn sword or whatever. But then who should arrive but Masheri? That's right, Masheri actually rejoins the battle, which is pretty interesting because she's been out of the main story for a bit, and everybody's kind of just doing their own thing and whatnot, and so I wasn't particularly expecting Masheri to be a major plot development. But what happens before this scene is actually kind of cool. She's like actually fighting off the Realm Scourge with different espers. She summons like Ifrit, and then she keeps upping the ante. She uses Golem to block, she uses Ifrit to attack, and she keeps going more and more and more. She starts bringing out like Ramu, and then like a better esper and a better esper, and then it gets all the way up to Odin and Bahamut, and neither Odin or Bahamut are enough. And that's when this happens, and she basically has this sparkling entity in the middle of her chest, which seems to be related to her calling forth espers. And you can see it right now, like people are trying to kind of do something because she's essentially been put comatose. And Masheri, I mean, there must be a reason for this scene. Like, narratively, if nothing happens because of this, then that's, it's just pretty bad writing, I guess I would say. But it does seem to be foreshadowing something that I was talking about in the previous video, and something that does seem to happen around, anniversary time of major espers coming to the game. If you want to talk about what I mean by major espers, I mean the strongest of all espers that we've seen historically, Bahamut and Odin, both who have gotten chaos versions or dark versions or whatever the heck they renamed them to on the global version. These already exist, and they've gone up against the Realm Scourge, and they weren't enough. Everybody is trying to find all of these different methods of beating the Realm Scourge, of going up against this major thing. Mont keeps trying to summon visions to basically hold it off as best he can. Stern is out looking. Gilgamesh is fused and brought out like more of his true potential and power that he can reach at this point. And Masheri shows up, and she brings the espers to the party, and both Bahamut and Odin, who right now are still the most premium choice espers for any character, almost any character that doesn't have casting time or something like that. It does seem to really point that we are looking at a major event in the story that will be based around a new esper that we haven't seen yet. I mean, it surely could be one of the new espers that we've seen lately. It could be maybe 8 legendary dragons. Like, we have one for lightning, we have Shinryu for light. Maybe there'll be a few more. Maybe it's a new CG esper completely. Maybe it's finally, dare I say, Alexander. Maybe Alexander will be a penultimate summon. Maybe it'll be something entirely new. It could be anima. It could be so many different things. But I think at this point, based on the story, this is certified, the idea in my head that there will be a major esper that is coming to the game. And some people have said, well, I don't think it's going to be a shooting esper or an ice shooting esper or anything like that, because we already have that. Well, probably, because I don't think that either anymore. I think that the hinting from the story really points the way to an esper that will outpace Bahamut and outpace Odin, and could be the strongest esper in the game, because Odin to me is still the best. And Magic, there's a little more contention, but I think about Bahamut and Odin as still being just overall some of the best espers a lot of the time. And it certainly does seem that way to me. of what is coming very soon. Now, probably we won't have to wait too terribly long, but given that it is anniversary time, I'm expecting something big. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this spoilerific video, and see you in the next video. Later.